evidence. There are validations, scattered validations available, and this is how we are very research oriented and we are evidence based. Then folklore claims, several tribes, several folklore claims from Northeast, maybe from Chhattisgarh, the tribes which are very rich in Ayurvedic medicine, maybe the prescription of the may not be Ayurvedic alone, because some of the herbs may not be described in Ayurveda. They may be available in the jungles of Chhattisgarh or maybe in the jungles of Northeast. There may be many more communities, many more tribes who would be having the folklore claims. So those folklore claims need to be validated because they have been running through several generations. So we need to create an evidence for that. Experience-based evidence. There are many practitioners who have a lot of experience. So if they have something unique to offer, we need to do research and we need to produce that forward. Mass acceptability will not sustain for long. Because I have given the example of Ganpati. Ganpati taking milk. I'm absolutely aware in 1902 or 1903, there was a low sort of rumor across the country that Ganpati has started consuming milk and all people thronging there. Because it did not have an evidence, it did not sustain. Therefore, if you don't have an evidence for Ayurveda, it will not sustain. It has sustained across the centuries just because it is strong in fundamentals. It has an unbroken tradition because it was strong in the treatment part. It had offered cures to the humanity for thousands of years, and we need to bring the good things about Ayurveda to show to the world that we are all evidence-based and therefore we will sustain. We are here to have a sustainable existence, and hence we ought to generate new evidence. Next. Now there are some bottlenecks. There is a need for research. But what are the bottlenecks for growth of Ayurveda? If you know the bottlenecks, you know where to hit. There are documented researches and validations. We do a lot of work, day in and day out. We made a small effort in Bodal. We got in touch with Hindustan Liver. We wanted to document around 15,000-20,000 patients. But the sad story was the postgraduate students did not want to fill the long performance that we wanted. I'm sorry to say, but some of the teachers did not take interest and the project got killed. Now, if we don't do validation, if we don't do documentation, probably if we do not have a good documentation, we will not be able to survive. So, good documentation is the key to your future, because documented researches will only prove that Ayurveda is better. You may be doing 100 things in your clinical practice, but every case must be documented. There are documented quality control in Ayurvedic products. Whatever you find in the market today, off the shelf, on the chemist shop, may not have a background of research. So if there is a documented evidence, only Himalaya, Dabar, maybe Dulpapeshwar and some of the bigger companies are generating evidence. But as per the latest notifications of Department of Ayush, there is a lot of emphasis on generating evidence on something which is not from the textbooks. So if you have Arjunarish, you do not need to create an evidence because that scriptural evidence is enough. It has been in use for thousands of years, therefore it is enough. But if you are using Leaf 52, it ought to have, because it's a different combination. The herbs may be prescribed in Ayurveda, but the combination is different, the process of making is different. Therefore it has to have a clinical trial, it has to have preclinical studies, maybe post-marketing surveillance as well. Therefore, the evidence based on the quality control of Ayurvedic products, whether batch to batch variation should not be there, whether they maintain the batch to batch uniformity is of utmost importance. Then of course language barrier. Now fortunately we have almost all the books in English form, English language. We have in many German, we have in Spanish, we have in Hindi. So even those who are not able to read and write Sanskrit have an access to Ayurvedic literature. Therefore, that language barrier gradually is being broken. Next, please. Despite these issues, Ayurveda became popular. Because why Ayurveda has become popular? Why the modern medicine has started using Modern people have started using Ayurveda because people don't want any chemical medicines. They are fed up with synthetics and chemicals, therefore they are going towards natural. Whether it is going and living on a hill station, whether it is adopting the organic farming, whether it is adopting non-pesticide, non-fertilizer products, or it is going towards away from modern medicine and going towards Ayurveda. Everything is a moving towards nature. Therefore, and there is a desire to return back to nature as they have become more conscious of their health, and people understand synthetics and chemicals are not good for us. Therefore, they want to return to nature. There is a preference to go towards nature and natural materials. Ayurveda, why it is considered as close to nature? Because it interrelates the living body to the biological, mental and spiritual activities. We always compare even the medicine as a living organism, and we want to Yatha Pinde Tatha Brahmande, that kind of the concept we have, probably that is playing good for us. Next please. Now need for research due to globalization is also there. Why do we need research? Because globalization is happening, whether you and me like it or we do not like it. It's going to States, it's going to Europe, it's going to Australia, New Zealand. The remotest parts of the world, people are using Ayurveda as well. And therefore, it's very important. The upsurge of the interest in Ayurveda and its rapidly increasing public use has brought many new issues to the forefront. Just as I told you earlier, because we have a cultural proximity to Ayurveda, our culture is written in the same language, our culture, our kitchen is full of Ayurveda, we have been following that, our kitchen uses a lot of Ayurveda. In our daily routines, we have a belief system for Ayurveda, therefore we use it. But when it goes to US, when it goes to Europe, they do not have that culture and tradition. Therefore, to convince them, it is very important that we do researches. Safety and efficacy is left apart. More importantly, the countries are worried about the health of their own communities. There is an increasing pressure by the Britishers, by the Americans on their governments to allow Ayurvedic in their countries. But if they allow, the governments want to ensure that whatever is coming to the country is safe for other populations. Therefore, they want to have an evidence that it is safe, it is effective. More than efficacy, they are more bothered about safety. Therefore, the papers like John Sepper, I request the coordinator to please discuss one of these sessions if you can discuss John Sepper's paper also of 2004, which created a lot of ruckus across the globe. Probably that has got, and after that the kind of efforts that Ayush made, maybe Dr. Savrikar knows about it, and because he was in Ayush that time. So the kind of effort the whole country has made to contradict whatever happens in the US, Australia, Singapore, because of ignorance about Ayurvedic medicines, that also will be discussed here. And new communities have started curiosity to know about. Now they are curious. People are very, very curious to know about Ayurveda. What is it all about? Is it about herbs? It's about metals? Now, are you giving steroids? Are you giving antibiotics? People do not really know. We know it. But even in India, let me tell you, the teenage group does not know about, the college-going population does not know what Ayurveda is all about. Therefore, at different levels, people need to be told that Ayurveda is evidence-based and you need to follow it, and we need to create certain researches to create an impression on their minds. Now, another need, see the Chinese medicine. If you can see this chart, these are their best. Other than China, you have the whole of Myanmar, Burma, those countries of Hong Kong, Singapore, Middle East, Australia, the Eastern globe, the Western globe, whole of America, North America, and the extreme of South America. You can see that people have the Chinese practitioners registered with them. Chinese medicine is a recognized system of medicine in all these countries. And what is the situation of Ayurveda? Next please. See, this is the situation of Ayurveda. Therefore, there is a need for research. They started early. And if you see, most of the publications of the herbs will be from China, maybe Singapore, maybe mostly these Chinese doctors have been doing a lot of research. And because they have adopted these traditional systems as a part of their national program, every Chinese hospital of modern medicine will essentially have a Chinese medicine doctor and Chinese medicine outlet, so that people can offer, can accept the offer of traditional Chinese medicine also as a treatment choice. So this is the need. Ayurveda has to grow to the whole globe. It has gone, but people are not, Ayurvedic practitioners are not regulated. They are not allowed by law to practice Ayurveda. Next please. Now, therefore, the growing demand, there is definitely a growing demand for new scientific evidence for the efficacy, safety and quality of its medications from within and from outside the country. Next please. Now you see, there is a need of research because several factors influence the drugs. Just as I talked about collection and habitat, collection of the time, season, when it is collected, storage practices, appropriateness in Dasmon-Viri Vipaga. So these are some of the issues of the drug which again do want research on batch to batch kind of a research, so that the drug that you are using, that is going into the herb that you are using in the making of a compound, carries that kind of Dasmon-Viri Vipaga. Next please. Need for research on Rasaushadhi. Why there is a need? Because Ayurveda is normally criticized for using metals. But let me tell you, this is a very, very divine science. Rasaushadhi, Ayurveda was absolutely till 8th century AD, we were very primitive in research. It's only after Nagarjuna started using the knowledge of metallurgy and knowledge of chemistry to produce these Rasaushadhis that we got Rasaushadhi. And you see the Rekha Purnatva, Varitarutva, Apunarbhavatva, Sukshamatva, Niswadhu, Nirudhu, Nishchandratva, Virudhva. All these terms that we have, they need to be validated. There's a lot of work that is going on across the country, I must say. The Department of Ayush has taken a lot of interest. CCRS has taken a lot of interest. There are scattered studies everywhere. But this is the branch which brings a bad name to us just because the word metal is attached to that. If we clear that somehow, I am sure the papers on Arogya Vardhani, Swarnabhasma, several papers will be discussed during the workshop. I have 100% confidence that all these Rasaushadhis, if properly made, are absolutely safe, even in maybe 10 to 20 times of their therapeutic dose. We are giving therapeutic dose, and they are absolutely safe. The science of nanotechnology that we had with us, burning the bhasmas at 1500 degrees centigrade or 800 or 2000 degrees centigrade, was a wonderful science that we had. And I think when the herbs are not there, there is a degradation of the forest. So while collection that is happening, unorganized collection that is happening by the unskilled labor will come to a nod in a few years, that is the time when we will have real difficulty in procuring good quality, all types of herbs. Because we cannot procure all cultivated herbs. Because cultivation is happening just in around 30 or 40 herbs. But we in our common practice use around 300, 400 herbs. Where are other herbs going to come from? If the classical medicine has to survive, if the classical products have to survive, then we need all those 400, 450 herbs which are very commonly used by Ayurveda, especially in the classical or the generic medicines that we use, which come from Granthas straight. Next. I normally call it as futuristic medicine. The reason is, when the herbs are less, probably this is the medicine which will dominate the Ayurvedic scene. Shelf life needs to be studied. Now, if I kept a powder on the shelf, powder on the table yesterday evening, probably today morning that cannot be consumed. If the pack was open on early sea phase, probably it cannot be utilized the next day morning. The churna which you have prepared today, in the best of the conditions, probably would not survive more than 6 months. This is what I will say. But if you have created vacuum, if you have combined it with maybe several other modern techniques, it might survive for 2 years. It might survive for 3 years. With the modern advancements, the shelf life of the drugs can be increased. Therefore, there is a need of research. I am coming to some of the parts. These are some of the classical references that we have. Now you have different shelf life for churna, you have different shelf life for gutika, then for tail there is a different shelf life. Therefore, what we need to do is, how is the shelf life increased, and whether there is a scientific validation for keeping a compound on the shelf of a chemist for 3 years or maybe 5 years. We go to the next slide, where we say what is affecting the stability of the natural products. Shelf life will be decided by temperature, humidity, light, packaging, inherent moisture content, microbial load, leftover space and packaging. Leftover space is, you find the packaging is this big and there are 10 tablets into it, 10 very, very small tablets. There is a lot of air that is trapped inside the container. So that is going to affect the stability of the product. Therefore, all these factors, combination of one or many of these factors will affect the shelf life of the Ayurvedic products. Next please. Now, drug and cosmetic rules have been changed in 2009. Notification was issued by Department of Ayush on 15th of October 2009, and it says the date of expiry of Ayurveda, Siddha and Unani medicine shall be conspicuously displayed on the label, and the said date of expiry, these medicines should not be beyond the said date of expiry. These medicines shall not remain in the circulation. That means it is mandatory for the manufacturers to mention on the bottle, on the label, how far it is going to last for efficacy. Whether it is 3 months from the date of manufacture, 6 months from the date of manufacture, or it is 3 years, 10 years, 20 years from the date of manufacture. If you see the Ayurvedic stores, many of the medicines probably are there on the shelf, which are very low selling. Maybe some Leela Vilas or maybe some other compound which was prepared by Vedanath in the year 1990, you can find them on the shelf even today in some of the Ayurvedic stores. So whether that is genuine or not genuine, you have to identify that. Now it is very compulsory. The shelf life for Ayurvedic and Siddha medicines shall be as follows. So the government has issued a notification. Next please. Now this is for churna it is 2 years. Ayurveda says it is 6 months. And the Government of India notification says 2 years. Were there relevant studies to give that viewpoint? Now, Gutika, it is 3 years. When you come to Ras Aushadhis, there is no expiry date. Is it right? Asavarish, no expiry date. Avleh, 3 years. Gokul is 5 years. Then, next slide please. We will go to some more. Pishti and Bhasmas, there is no expiry date. Parpati, there is no expiry date. Ghanvati, it is 3 years. Next please. Next. Now, footnote on the notification. Under the notification, there is a small footnote. Note that item at serial number 1, which says about Ras, and serial number 5 is Asavarishtas. 19, 20, 22, 23 are Bhasmas and Pishtis, have very long shelf life, and they become more efficacious with the passage of time and period of 10 years, shall be mandatory for keeping the records of such items. That means the law of the country says that these Bhasmas, Asavarishtas can last for 10 years minimum. Now, Bhasmas at serial number 23, that is again Pishti and Bhasma, start solidifying after 5 years. Therefore, they will need a reprocessing. The Pishtis and some of the Bhasmas will need a reprocessing. This is the footnote. Now, the question is whether there was a lot of demand from the industry that the regulators wanted that the industry puts a shelf life or the date of expiry on Ayurvedic products on the label, because it looked to be a mockery that a medicine is there on the shelf, it doesn't have an expiry. Therefore, the regulators wanted it, the government wanted it, FDA wanted it, the commissioners of different states wanted it. Therefore, the government was hard pressing to put it. And in negotiation with the industry, this is what the government reached at. But is it truly validated? validated for children. We had a record, I was in Dabur that time. We generated a record because for almost every medicine that the companies produce, the bigger companies, they keep them in the stability chambers for a long time in different conditions, in very humid conditions, in very hot conditions, in frozen conditions, because many of the medicines go to Europe where the temperature is -20, -40, even up to North Pole where it is -50. So in all temperature conditions, the stability chambers are available, and the bigger companies do it. This is how the government of India did it, but I am not really sure whether it is for all these medications. We have a lot of background research on the shelf life, because if the shelf life is, there may not be contaminants. I will accept there are preservatives into it. The government of India has allowed the use of excipients into Ayurvedic medicines. Therefore, the shelf life has automatically gone up. But has the efficacy been retained is a bigger question. If I am taking Khadira Vadi, which was produced 10 years ago, is that going to be effective? Is a matter of research. Therefore, there is a lot of need of research. Next, please. I'm sorry I'm taking a lot of time, but I think you have to go a little fast with the other speakers. I'll also try that.